everybody. This is Nikkei Roach, and welcome once again for an amazing, phenomenal, mind-blowing presentation. I get to interview some of the best and brightest in marketing. If you're marketing in the restaurant industry, massage therapy industry, if you're in government services, or even professional services, I get to talk to the people who are living the trenches, solving problems to get business from point A to point B, and to develop a more strategic approach to growing your enterprise. Again, if that's in health and wellness, or you're looking at something a little bit more, say, in your belly, and we'll get to that a little bit more. We'll go ahead and talk over that today. So our guest today is, and he is no stranger to business, is Austin Moody. He's a third generation entrepreneur. Comes from I get 3 generations of entrepreneurs. It's in his family, it's in his sister, it's in his uncle, it's in his grandpa, it's in his dad. And so he's going to talk with us a little bit today, not only about his discovery that he was better and he loved more about digital marketing and Facebook marketing more specifically than his family business. Not to say the business isn't amazing and wonderful, and I've been to many of their restaurants, and I love them, by the way. But he's going to be talking and giving you some pointers to be able to 10x, possibly, maybe 2x, or even 1x your digital marketing. Our guest today, again, of course, is the one and only Austin Moody. Hey, Austin.
Hey, how's it going?
Wonderful, 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 sir. So I want to give everybody else an opportunity. If you have some questions that you'd like to ask related to marketing or just some general questions out of the way, you're welcome to ask them. This is live right now, and later on it'll probably be recorded, and we'll try to get those questions addressed if for some reason this recording ends up somewhere else. So thank you, Austin. All right. So
thanks for having me on here.
In a weird sort of a way, who is this ninja that we know called Austin Moody? Tell us who you are.
Yeah, so you were kind of, by the way, thanks for making me sound a whole lot more interesting than I actually am. You do a great job at that. But so yeah, like I said, my family goes way back, and we originated in Greece. So let me say half my family is originated from Greece. I don't want to exclude anyone else, but my mom's side originated from Greece. They came over here on a boat about 3 generations ago. And if you hear anything in the background, my dog is trying to find some water. But yeah, so we originated here from Greece, from Kapinish, and my grandfather wanted to get into the restaurant business. One of the things that Greeks know a lot about, if you're from Winston, you probably know that if you go to a restaurant here in Winston-Salem, there's a 50% chance that a Greek owns that restaurant.
You know what? I'd argue there's probably a 75% chance of that, because every Greek restaurant I've ever come to in contact in this town has connected by the other one. I have no idea how that happens.
Yeah.
A cousin, a brother, a sister to this one, and everything like that. So go ahead. Sorry.
Oh, no, you're fine. So, yeah, you're probably right. It's probably closer to 75%. So the way that Greeks help each other here in the community is basically it's pretty neat. So when you're growing up in the community, you might go work for your family's restaurant, but typically you don't. Surprisingly, you go work for your uncle, for your aunt, and they'll help you later down the road open up your own restaurant. So that's kind of how the Greek community roadmap is, and that's how it was laid out for me essentially. But I decided that I didn't really have a huge passion for the restaurant business, and I discovered early on that I had a huge passion for marketing. My sister comes from a extensive marketing background, so I decided to go that route, and I fell in love with it, and that's what I've been doing since a very young age.
Wow. So you've your sister seemed like she led the path, and then you sort of came in and then discovered going on to something else. Now, so speaking of that in the marketing space, and we're going to do some debunking, and then we're going to address some tips hopefully towards the end. What are the common myths about say digital marketing in the new age?
Common myths. Oh, that's a really good question. Honestly, I would say one of the common myths is that anyone can jump into it and roll it out like as if it was nothing. Unfortunately, that is not the case. A lot of times you can kind of compare Facebook or LinkedIn or Instagram marketing to throwing a party, right? So many people can attend a party, they can go and have a good time, but if you actually get down to the nitty gritty of actually, putting one together, sending out invites, organizing a DJ or whatever, it takes a lot more effort and time than you may think. Same thing with marketing, especially in the digital world, is that you gotta take the time to build out a campaign. Before you even get to that step, you have to realize who your market is, because if you don't, you're going to spend a ton of money, pretty much blanketing the entire community, state, country, whichever your market is, or whatever your reach is, and you're really gonna spend a lot of money there.
Okay. So in that same vein, because it seemed like it's a little bit more complex. In that same vein, what are some of the things you would advise somebody who, say you're a business owner, and we'll go with my business or a restaurant, which is places I go a lot of. You're a business owner, you're the, chief bottle washer, whatever is your title, you're the lawyer, the doctor, you're the therapist. What advice would you give somebody who has never done digital marketing, or maybe even touched it a little bit and realized it was okay? What would you say to them before they even start even having a conversation with somebody like you?
As far as when you go out and look for a marketing company to hire, or just to do it yourself?
Yeah, or even, yeah, even that. If you're just thinking about doing it yourself, what would you say is some of the
Okay.
things you want to do first? I mean, I know you already talked to, finding your target market and even addressing some of your needs and deciding what's your campaign. But even
Yeah.
before that, what would you say they need to do?
Well, you really need to figure out what your mission is and why you're even in the business, and what value you add to your customers. Marketing is not about selling. It is about gaining trust and and sending out a message of what value you can add to someone's company or personal life or whatever, right? So before you run your own campaign, and before you even go to a marketing company such as us or anyone else, first and foremost, you got to figure out what value you add to the community, and that should be easy, right? Because if you're not adding any value to the company or to the community, sorry, you really got to rethink your structure. In anyways, um, you really got to figure out your mission behind it. You got to figure out who your target market is. If you don't, that's fine. A marketing company can help you, but no one knows your company like you do, right? So a lot of people come to us and they're like, Austin, I really want to figure out who the best person to put this campaign out to. What would you say? I would say, okay, well, who buys from you, right? Who do you see is in your inbox? Who calls you? Who is liking your post? There are so many ways to figure out, beyond spending. You can spend money to figure that information out, but you don't have to. The beginning stages, obviously, a startup is pinching every penny. First and foremost, you have to, you know, logistically say who's liking my stuff, who's coming to my stuff, who's calling me, etc.
Mm. So now, since you've kind of addressed some of the basics, um, what what this is a strange one. What's your favorite food? You're in a restaurant business, so I'm gonna throw that one out there. Why not?
Yeah. So okay, if you ask me before the age 15, I'm gonna say seafood, right?
Why after the age of 15?
Because our family owns the Mayflowers, right? My uncle Gus, one of a major mentor in my life, not only in business but in life in general. He's been one of my best friends. I go see him a lot. Um, I love seafood, but after a while, you eat too much of it. Same with wings. I have strong connections with East Coast Wings, and let me get this right. I just want to say I think they're the best wing place out there. However, after so many wings, ooh. So I would say as of right now, my favorite would probably be I'll probably say Italian.
Okay. Okay. It was
Yeah.
just something I threw out there. I sort of knew the answer, having worked in the restaurant business myself. I know, too much of a good thing can be just too much of a good thing. And
Exactly. Yeah.
you need a little bit of variety and everything like that.
Yeah, but it's still a treat nowadays. Like I don't eat as I don't eat seafood or wings as much anymore. So when I have it, I thoroughly enjoy it. But I got to be careful not to cross that line of eating it too much.
Eating it too much. So let's back into our other conversation now. You have a background in restauranting. Your sister has a background in marketing, and I understand she markets, for East Coast Wings and some of your family's other enterprises. And I've seen some of the different platforms available. So talk us through some of let's say the top 3 platform for digital marketing. If you're going to do digital marketing, Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, and whoever else is the rest, which specific market have you seen traditionally is better for different segments of, say, somebody's marketing campaign?
So that's a good question, and that really falls on the industry you're in. One of the pitfalls that a lot of people fall into is they feel like they have to be everywhere, right? That is not the case. You don't have to have a campaign on every single different marketing platform. You just have to have a campaign on the ones that matter and the ones that count to your industry, right? So, for example, the top 3 that come to mind when I think of a marketing campaign is easy: Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, right? The reason why I say those 3 are because those 3 can pretty much stretch through every different organization, nonprofit, business, anything in the world, because of the different audiences that are on the different platforms. So I would never suggest a restaurant spend a lot of money or any money on LinkedIn. I just don't. I don't see it. And I wouldn't necessarily say, um, a financial services company or a wealth management agency spend a lot of money on Instagram, right? Because the demographics, and we'll get to kind of the breakdown of the demographics here in a minute. But the demographics, you really have to dive into before you decide what platform you want to kind of attack. Because if you're spending money on these different platforms, depending on the majority demographics, it's really going to determine whether you make it or you're going to waste a lot of money.
Definitely. So, and I think I've even discovered that in just dancing and doing some research myself on different platforms. And it's kind of interesting you should mention that, is because different segments of our business are focused in different areas. So one of our agency sides, hey, Instagram, and not Instagram, but LinkedIn is perfect. And other ones, Instagram, still trying to figure that one out. And in our wellness center, Facebook seems to be, and I think you really touched on it. So if you have a different business, or you have business that have, say, multiple focuses, then diving into what are the demographics of the people more likely to pop into your inbox, or request information, or even want to, do something with you.
Exactly.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, exactly. So you really got to, like I said, that the different platforms bring new audience. They bring very different audiences to your doorstep, and they also have different ways of developing campaigns. So Instagram is obviously for the younger generation, and the upwards of up to about 35. Obviously, Facebook is starts at a little higher age, but it goes much higher. And then LinkedIn's more for the business professionals, and anyone dealing in the business world. But determining which one fits your company isn't always about who I want. It's who can I get. As far as if you have 100 people in a room, what one person is most likely to purchase your product or use your service, and what about that person makes them the perfect candidate.
That makes sense. That makes a lot of sense. So, um, you became a father, like myself, not too long.
Yeah, absolutely.
I became a father a way long time ago, but you became one, more recent than
Yeah.
last week. Well, not more recent than last week, but how did that change you as a person? I mean, you and your
Wow.
wife,
Yeah.
I suspect we're just kind of, just you two. How does becoming a father really change you,
Yeah.
if you will?
So when I came home and I found out that I was going to be a father, a wave of emotions and thoughts just rushed my head. Right. I was first and foremost terrified. Okay. I was shocked. I was nervous. Excitement didn't hit me right away. I was happy, and I'm gonna have a few people that might watch this later on and be upset that I said that, but it's the truth. Excitement wasn't the first thing on my mind, right? Because I thought, what do I do? So, um, after a couple of days of talking to some people, and they said, Austin, it's going to be okay. You're going to be a good dad. It really started. The excitement started to take over because I thought first. I was like, wow, am I going to be good at this? I don't even know. I can't. Some people would argue I can't even take care of myself, and now I'm going to take care of someone else. So, um, excitement did fill my head very soon. Very shortly afterwards, and coming up to the birth. Um, it started to become very real. We
Mm,
decked out the nursery. We have, her tent in there and her, massive whatever net over her crib and pictures all over the walls. And we painted the walls pink. And I mean, it's just, beautiful. So it was starting to come alive and become real. And it was incredible. Becoming a father, the day that I became one, um, I felt a sense of responsibility that I've never felt in my life.
mm,
Okay. So it was like my entire life, I've always had to do what's best for me, right? What's best for Austin Moody.
mm.
As soon as I had my little girl, it started to think of what can I not only do for my little girl, but also my wife, right? Because
Mm.
she became a bigger role as soon as that baby was born as well. I've always loved her, but this was like, wow, she has a stronger responsibility as well. How can I make her life easier? Um, so obviously, I worked harder. I really tried to do as much as I could around the house, which is a lot of people, um, especially some of the Greek families. The man goes to work, woman stays home. Um, but for us, it was like I want to help out as much as I can at the house, as well as out at work, but also be there for the baby and spend incredible time with her, which I have.
True. Whew. I, I think you spoke honest statements. 'Cause some people might be a little upset, but
It's
that's
the
just
truth. It is the
that's
truth.
reality, and that's the truth. And as a father, I can relate to every one of those what you just said. So now that we know that you're human, okay, and everything like that. What are some of the things you discovered about digital marketing? You went into it first, and I suspect this wasn't your first rodeo. I looked over some of your bio and see that you've been in different businesses, from anything from your family's business to businesses that you launched. What did you discover in digital marketing that you thought you knew before?
So originally, I thought that it would be a lot easier as far as um, the time that goes into it, right? When I would do posting for myself on whatever on my own Facebook or Instagram, it takes like 3 to 5 minutes if I really draw it out there. Most of the time, it's like a minute or two. Throw up a picture and throw up some content, be done with it. Come to find out, that is the exact opposite of what it's actually like. Starting from scratch, building a campaign, figuring out the target audience, coming up with a budget that makes sense, launching it on a time that makes sense. Even the season comes into play when you're talking about marketing. The weeks, the holidays, who you're marketing to, and what are they doing?
Now,
Um,
I wanted to, interject a question real quick.
sure.
You say in the time and the seasons, and I wanted to, making it, there are different times a year that it's more appropriate, different times of days. Talk us through that. Let's just say it's spring, or it's fall, or it's winter, or it's Christmas, or it's New Year's, or anniversaries, and this is everything from massage to restauranting. How does that work out as far as you planning out and kind of figuring out when is the best time to launch a campaign for the maximal effect?
Yeah, so in a lot of times it's not only for the maximum effect; it's also for the cost purposes or for budgeting, right? So like if you are a let's say you're a bar in a university town, right? You're right beside the university. Your main target is university students, right? We actually have one of those right down the street from where I live, and what I mean by that is sometimes, or in the summer, you're not going to spend a lot of money in marketing. You're not. You're going to have to take the loss. The loss is going to be there. Kids are going home. The new students haven't came into town yet. You're going to be slower than you typically are during the school year, and that's okay. You're busier in the school year, so it kind of makes up for it. But spending five, six, $700 into ad dollars just doesn't really make sense if your traffic isn't if your foot traffic isn't up there to kind of outweigh those ad dollars. I wouldn't, those are one of the situations where I wouldn't recommend a ton of money going into marketing for a seasonal product or service or establishment um, in the off season because every company has a time period where they're slower. Some the window is shorter, sometimes the window is much bigger, but you have to accept that at times you're going to have a slower some downtime as you call it,
Mm-hmm.
and you're going to have to accept it, and you're going to just have to deal with it and bite that bullet until your season comes back around.
True. Now, so it would make sense, like you said, just to kind of back off tremendously on an off season when the kids are not here. If you're a bar or something like that, or maybe a white water park in the middle of December, whatever, you're going to back off. And then now, when the season is on, do you just kind of go double down, triple down, and go for broke? Just to make sure that you maximize the time when everybody have eyes on the prize.
Well, so for example, when you're in the off season, right, the downtime, I would say you don't do any marketing at all. I just would say you don't do a lot of paid campaigns,
Mm.
right? So you can still, roll out organic campaigns. So, roll out a special. Okay, you have a new item coming out, or you're doing, half off on this for these days, and then you might do a special on this day. Just to get the locals, attract them, because no one ever said, and I think this is a misconception in marketing as a whole, is that you can't shift markets, right? Because you can if you know what the other market is looking for, right?
Give me an example. What do you mean by
So, okay, so we're gonna go back to the bar situation, right? So, let's say during the school year, you have loud music, you have, the dimmer lights, you have it up open very late. You're serving a ton of alcohol, and that's great. Your advertising is strictly or 90% alcohol. You're advertising your new drinks and beer specials, whatever. Well, in the off season, the downtime, let's say come around on the May or maybe June, then you might want to start advertising that you have free Wi-Fi.
that?
Turn the music down, have free Wi-Fi. Have some social hours. Advertise more of menu items. As far as food wise, have bar foods. Shift the market to the older generation. And when I say older generation, I don't mean for this situation much older. I'm just meaning people that are not in college that are right above that age group. So instead of 18 to 22, you're advertising for 21 to 25.
Right. So maybe people who are not seasonally there, this is their community, if you
This
will.
is our locals, exactly.
This
So, for example, in the off season, I would be a perfect target for the bar that I'm using this example of, because I'm local. I'm here. I live right beside the university. Um, I'm 25, so I'm still at that age where I still want to go out and have a nice brew here and there. But I'm not a college student, so I'm not leaving to go home at the end of the school year.
Mm. So now that people kind of got a really good picture of what it is, what are say two or three ninja like skills on say digital marketing that you could share? Nothing proprietary. You don't want to give away the kitchen sink or anything like that, any of that stuff. But what are some really, things that you can say tomorrow? If you're going to do digital marketing in Facebook, Instagram, or LinkedIn or whatever, what are two things that you just need to do right now, and then we move to the next step?
Okay, so for one, I'm not sure how helpful this will be or not, but you need to invest in a nice either camera or one of the newer iPhones, maybe a nice Android with a camera on it. When they say a picture says a thousand words, it is completely true, right? So for us, one of the things that separates us from majority of the marketing companies out there is that our main focus a lot of times depending on the service is our photos, right? So we'll come in, and if you ever look at our campaigns, our photos are typically very on the higher end of the quality, because we want it to pop out. So a lot of marketing companies are more focused on content, whereas we are mostly focused on. We're still focused on the content, but we also want to have a extremely high quality photo that screams your name out there. When you're scrolling, we want a picture to stop you from scrolling,
Mm,
because that's important. If you can't stop the scroller, you aren't going to capture anyone.
mm,
So you got to have a nice image. Two, on Instagram, I would say utilize your stories. Okay, so a lot of people do a lot of posting on Instagram, whereas they're not uploading stories. You got to understand, stories are one of the most easy, the one of the easiest things to click through, as opposed to scrolling down constantly. If you have, there's some people out there that has 800, 2,000, 4,000. They're following 800 people. It takes a lot to get through 800 scrolls, 800 different posts. But not many, not everyone utilizes their stories. So if you start adding to your story and they follow you, you're more likely to get engagement. Uh,
wow.
yeah, yeah.
I,
So
you know, I and even on my Instagram, I am like most people will post the regular, through the feed, but not necessarily through the stories. And I see a lot more activity, and I should have been an aha on the story side than I did even on the feed.
yeah, another great tip is utilize the organic methods on Instagram or Facebook. What
Tell
I
us
mean
about.
by that, I'm sorry.
I was saying, tell us about that. What does that
So
mean?
yeah, so for example, on Instagram and Facebook, you can utilize the checking in or the location tag, right? So if I am, posting, for example, one of our clients, I'm not just going to post a picture of, their software or, their chiropractic, practice or their burger, whatever it is. I'm going to put in the location tag, um, Brick Oven Pizzeria, Copla's, Tequila, whatever it is. I'm going to make sure I, have that location tag for when, someone sees that post. If they like it, they have a location tag right there. They can click and learn more information about.
Mm,
Um, Another one that's really awesome that a lot of people know about are hashtags. Now, there is a misconception with hashtags. Everyone thinks that you should just spam your posts with hashtags. That you should have. Instagram will allow you to have 30 hashtags on each post. Now, I would recommend it because you're gonna you're just people are gonna like look at you like, what are you doing? That's too much. They're gonna look at you like you're desperate for followers or for engagement, and honestly, you're just wasting time. You need to come up with 10 to 15, not even on most posts, maybe 5 to 10 targeted hashtags that you can use. And a lot of times you can use them through the post. So you can spread it out to be more aesthetically pleasing. So, if you're having content about, let's say, a pizza, and then you say, pizza equals love is your content. Well, hashtag pizza equals hashtag love. There's two. Um, and people will look at that and they'll, you know, it won't affect the post because you did hashtags, but outside sources will have those hashtags come back and help you increase your engagement, your reach, and so forth.
And I think I learned that the hard way. Is like, I was taking Instagram as, if you give me 30, I'm gonna go 30.
Yeah.
I'm just anything related to massage, acupuncture, nutrition, wellness. If you name if I can remotely think it had anything to do with,
You're gonna
and
post it. You're
yeah,
gonna
just
roll it out.
throw it out there. And I noticed it was sort of like, yay, but that kind of sucked. And then really being very focused and intentional about what are areas that we can make a relation, love or wellness, or, in your case, pizza love.
Exactly. Yeah. You can really target, your mission on your post based on your hashtags. Because another misconception is that people feel like social media marketing is something that's going to help them overnight. And there has been some cases, don't get me wrong, where we'll do one post or one campaign for a client, and then instantly they'll call us 2 days later. It's like, hey man, I just signed 2 new clients. Thank you so much. And we're ecstatic about it because we're so happy, because it doesn't happen that often. It
Mm.
takes time to build that trust and then convince a buyer that you have the value that they need.
And,
Um,
and
it's
I think it's something I learned from a marketer, wasn't in a digital space years ago, about frequency and stuff like that, and being there, and being, you know, being there for the long haul, for the build that trust, as opposed to, hey, I'm just going to put one ad and hope for the best.
Yeah, yeah. I've seen that. I've seen it so many times. I've also seen it with us. Is that we'll somebody will come to us and they'll say, okay, here's X amount of dollars. Go find me some clients, and we tell them up front, like, hey, look, it isn't like magic. It does take time. It does take effort to really reach new people and show them what you're all about and that they need to purchase from you. And then a week later, they'll call us and they'll say, "Hey, I got one lead this week. Where's all the rest?" I'm like, again, we've had your business for 6 days. We need a little bit more time. I mean, if we got you one lead as it is, it's not bad for 6 days. Um, so again, and it depends really on the industry as well. Restaurants, it really can be like clockwork, because of the fact that if we have a restaurant that is doing no promoting at all, and then 2 days later they're like, hey, let's do a buy one get one free pizza. We promote that, and then next thing you know, they have 500 different orders come in. That we can suggest, we can see that happening. But let's say you're a chiropractor's office or you're a wealth management agency, and you don't see your phones ringing off the hook like crazy after 3 days. Don't be alarmed. That's normal.
And it also seemed like, there may be a longer burn in certain cases, like for wealth management. That's a long-term burn.
Yeah,
Chiropractic care. That's typically a longer burn versus I'm hungry and I need immediate pizza. That's more of a I need it now versus chiropractic is, it's sort of, you kind of got to need it kind of thing, or even in
yeah.
our case, they have to kind of process through that versus pizza might be a little bit more spontaneous.
Yeah, exactly. You nailed on the head there, because what we like is based on who you're reaching and based on your product. Obviously, the client value is also, it varies based on industries, right? So if we can get you one new person a day at a restaurant, for example, um, that becomes a loyal customer. Think about over 6 months how many new loyal customers you have now acquired, and what the client value or what the customer value of that is, right? Or if you are a chiropractor, those chiropractors, it's pretty expensive when you first go in there, because you have to do so many different adjustments. You have to do like 4 a week, and then the next week 4 week, the next week 3 a week, and obviously it starts to dwindle down from there. But at first, it's pretty extensive. So when we bring a chiropractor, a client, we just brought them $2,000-3,000 right off the bat. So they're $300 marketing campaign is now paid for the next 6 months. Um, that's the kind of things we like, is when we can, bring back one of those higher end customers, because at that point we don't have to put really much, we don't have to put that much work into bringing you a client a week, for example.
Mm. Wow. Well, before I knew it, we had covered so different many parts it almost lost track of time. But I wanted to thank you for being here, for
Thank
sharing
you.
your techniques, but also your wisdom and what you learned along the way that you didn't know, but also some of the skills that you've learned from your sister and that you've learned just discovering, learning from other gurus and, like your uncle. And I believe, like you said, business is successful business, it breeds children. And in your case, you're a child of your grandfather, a grandchild. So you went into a whole different sector, but understanding that they wouldn't have lasted as long as they have in this community, even
Yeah,
with a major fire, which kind of shut one of the shops down for a little while.
it did. Peters Creek, unfortunately, yeah.
Yeah. So
Um,
being able to, you know, literally rebuild the store,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
everything from the ground up again.
Yeah, and that was definitely a very tense conversation at dinners here and there, but we got it rolling again.
You got, and there's
Our
always,
family is, yeah, the Hodges family is very resilient. We don't quit very easily. But
I go ahead.
another plug I want to put in there for another resource that I have used for many years now is the Tech Small Business Center.
Mm,
For those who are watching that need that extra um, push to, the extra resource to help them grow their business. When we first started our business, the Forsyth Tech Small Business Center was a huge help to us. We went to many of their courses. I met with mentors maybe twice to three times a week, and really just kind of helped perfect uh, our roadmap before launch and then even after launch as well. Um, so yeah, I would
now,
recommend that as well for
now
anyone.
let's assume that because many of the viewers are not here in North Carolina or even in this county, some of them are in California, some of them are many of them, strangely enough, are actually abroad, Australia for some reason. I have no idea what's going on in Australia. Um, would you recommend, and I know we're longer than we originally had scheduled to, would you recommend a business owner, go to a small business center, or the equivalent in your area to learn some of the fundamentals, or you think they should just go ahead and hire out a professional like yourself?
It depends on their budget, and it also depends on what they're looking for, right? So like our three top our ideal markets are the people who don't want to do it, who people have no desire to go and be to do their own marketing. So if those people, if you're one of the ones who just doesn't have the desire to do your marketing, then yeah, I would recommend hiring out. It's not a problem. Obviously, you're helping another business out, and it really helps other business owners. But another one is if you don't know how to do it and you don't have the time to learn, that's another reason why you should outsource. Um, and if, let's say, you got the ones who don't have the desire, the time, um, or the resources to go through, and actually handle your own marketing, that's another sign that you should probably outsource. But if you're willing to learn, um, then learn, then do it. Again, it's very time extensive. If you have the time, um, you know, try it out. But a lot of times we'll see a lot of business owners say that they would much rather put that time into their operational as opposed to marketing, and that's when we come in and we help them out as well.
And I agree to that because I've seen, and I guess when you're bootstrapping and you have to do a lot, yourself and stuff like that. But also, there's going to be a point in your business that you're going to be like, okay, this is not making any sense um for just hundreds or a couple of $1,000s. I can just hire out a professional who know exactly what they're doing, who for lack of a better word, run into enough brick walls in that
Yeah,
particular industry to understand what are the stumbling blocks, like pixels. I have no freaking idea what pixels are, yet I keep getting people say, oh, you need, I'm like, that's just wait, that's more information that I don't need to learn. and working with a professional crew of people who know exactly what that is, and to go in systematic, and then have the trustworthy and integrity to fulfill the assignment. So I'm gonna
Yeah.
thank you for being here, because if we stay any longer, your child and my child will probably start crying out or something, like, or our wives would get us honest. But I want to thank you, Austin, for being
Thank
here,
you.
for sharing your ninja lock techniques, but also some of the things that made you who you are and how you're building enterprise and focusing. And I didn't cover this, why you touch, specifically on small to medium sized businesses in the local market. So your market could be, wherever you are, if it's in North Carolina or it's outside of North Carolina, and why it might be a little different. So because we didn't cover that, and that wasn't intentional, just happened to work out that way, how would somebody get in contact with you to at least start maybe an initial strategy call, or to get some pointers that you could not cover just because we had some time constraints today?
So there's three methods here. One, they could email me. My email is very simple, but it's also kind of long. It's Austin at nccorporatesolutions.com. They can visit our website at www.nccorporatesolutions.com, or they can give me a call. I don't mind taking direct calls. My phone number is 336-582-6140. I'm sure you'll put that in the description. But for the most part, honestly, I would prefer emails more than anything else. I'm typically with the client. I'm not very, free enough to pick up a call. So a lot of times, emails is the best way to reach me.
Excellent. Well, I want to thank you again for being here. Thank your wife and your daughter for allowing us to borrow you for just a few moments. And
Sure.
I want to thank you all and everyone else who is here. If you're a business owner, or you're a business entrepreneur, you have any entrepreneurial bugs anywhere in your family, I strongly recommend that you hang around the people who are doing the things that you want to do, and more importantly, to build a business. Even if you're an employeepreneur, if you're a mom or dad at home and you have that, do that. If you don't notice, and I hope you do by now, if you're a business owner, your business creates much more power in your community than you just being an employer or an employee. Every person who starts a business, there's a potential other person in your community, like Austin had alluded to. People hire him, that creates another job. He gets busier, he has to hire more professionals. That's what I'm getting at. So if you're here and you don't have a business yet, explore whatever is out there, whatever the marketplace is asking for, or whatever you're passionate. If you need more information, pop on back in another interview like this. If you have interest, or you have a specific skill set in your path that you are better than anybody else around, by all means, we'd love to see you, and we'd love to interview you so your wisdom can be explored and expanded around this country. Thank you for your time. Thank you for your patience, and thank you for your questions. We'll see you in the future. Bye for now.